first question is to Alfie. Can you tell us about how you got into filmmaking?
So, when I was about 6 years old, I got an iPod Touch, and it was amazing, the idea of having this kind of camera in your pocket that you could take around anywhere that you went, and kind of take videos of anything. And I used to have a lot of Lego sets like kids do, and I used to kind of like make these kind of little films with my iPod Touch and kind of Lego sets back then. And then that went on to getting my very own camera. And then as the kind of years went by, I kept upgrading the camera, kept upgrading the equipment, and then kept getting more friends that I carried on, kicking and screaming into all my film projects, including Lewis. And yeah, that's just kind of how I built it up over time, and then it's just kind of everything else has kind of come with it.
Okay, same question to you, Lewis.
Very similar to Alfie as well. Like he had an iPod Touch, I had like a little iPad Mini, I think it was, and yeah, just making I started out just taking photos that I thought pretty much was funny, mainly of my brother and my friends, and yeah, just over time I just sort of gradually just grew into it. I did A-level film studies where one of my favourite parts of that was we got to make our own film, and yeah, that's how I decided that I wanted to do film at uni.
Okay, thanks very much. So Alfie, what was the most challenging part of making the Spider-Man film? Or all of it?
The last 2 months. So, this was a film that I kind of written the script for in September, and it was due to come out, I think, June 9th. And then I didn't start shooting it until February, and then I think we got to about kind of April time, and then we kind of realised we need to pick up the pace a little bit if we're going to get this done in time. So we did, and then we put in a lot of work and kind of went through it, but then by the time we got to about, I think, 2 days before deadline, before submission, was when we shot the very last scene, which funnily enough is the very first scene of the film. But yeah, the last 2 months were just extremely kind of working 24/7. A lot of sleepless nights as well.
Towards a deadline?
It was working towards a deadline. It's never easy, but I think as time goes by, it will get easier.
You were up all night, weren't you? You said to me you were up all night doing some editing and things like that.
Yeah,
but you don't mind doing that?
The last couple of nights, there's a few sleepless nights, and my girlfriend Eva, she would just fall asleep in the bed whilst I would sit there and edit this film, and I remember just kind of going over about 10 a.m, waking up and going, "Is it done?" And she was like, "Okay, I'll go back to sleep now."
So my next question's for you, Lewis. Which films have inspired you into filmmaking?
Loads of films. I just like to watch films in my spare time. I'd say one that particularly motivated me is like The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. Absolutely love that film. Like Heath Ledger's performance is incredible. Back to the Future is one of my all-time favourites. Like, it's one film that I can re-watch over and over again.
First one was made before you were born, wasn't it?
It's about 25 years before I was born. But yeah, it's good. Like Dark Knight especially, there was a lot of kind of shots we used in Spider-Man that were quite similar, and we took a lot of inspiration from Dark Knight really with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, similar to your fascination with Donnie Darko.
I mean, yeah. I mean, just to butt in, like, there's an app called Letterboxd, which is it's like IMDb, if anyone's heard of IMDb, where you kind of rank and you add films to your watch list. And the amount of times where I'm like, okay, I want to watch this cool new film that I've never seen before, and then I'll go on Letterboxd and go to kind of rank it out of 5 stars and kind of leave a review. And I'll scroll down, and every single time, without fail, it's just watched by Lewis Pugh. Without fail, every single time. I've never met a man that's seen more films in my entire life.
So, did anything strange happen when you were making Spider-Man? Anything strange, weird, unusual?
I mean, we had some interesting public interactions. Because I think naturally, like, we don't have the budget really to kind of cordon off full streets and stuff, so if we're going out and filming in public, there's a guy standing around in a full Spider-Man costume, you're going to get a few kind of people coming up to you and thinking, what is going on? Yeah, there was the time that there was a public Snapchat story at one point.
Yeah, I remember you sending me that the next day.
And it was just Lewis stood in the middle of, it's called Lace Market in Nottingham. It's quite a busy spot. And I decided, let's pick one of the busiest spots in Nottingham to film.
But Spider-Man's real, isn't he?
Well, we made the public believe that he could be.
So the next question is, it's to you, Lewis. So can you tell us as an actor about Alfie's directing style?
Be nice.
I'll try. I'd say because we're friends first, he's very easy to work with. I think we bounced off ideas because he showed me the script when it was like really early in development, and yeah, we were just sort of bouncing ideas off each other when he was writing it, and yeah, we just sort of came up with a finished draft. Well, he came up with a finished draft, and I was like, yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, he's very, very creative as a filmmaker. He can do virtually anything. Like I said, directed, acted in it at one point as well, edited the whole thing. So yeah, he's.
So is he a tough taskmaster, or is he easygoing and just leads the way and you follow him?
Yeah, you can say that.
Depends how close to deadline we get.
Okay, the next one's for you, Alfie. Obviously, it's Spider-Man, so the visual effects are really important. Can you tell us about the process of making the visual effects?
So I've been doing visual effects compositing, which is usually kind of blending multiple kind of assets together. So things like when you'll see, like sometimes when you see an explosion in a film, it will be a separate explosion filmed on its own separate plate, and then compositing it is the process of kind of taking that explosion and putting it into your footage and making it look like it was always there, and kind of integrating it and matching it and that kind of stuff. But as far as kind of VFX goes, compositing is kind of my limit. That's usually my speciality. And with a film like Spider-Man, you want a lot of scenes where you've got Spider-Man swinging through the city and stuff, and when they do that in Hollywood, that's full CG kind of 3D models and everything that does that. And I've never been able to kind of get into doing everything full 3D, so I just looked through social media and places like YouTube and stuff, and I tried to find a VFX artist that had done it for fun, done shots of like Spider-Man swinging through the city, because there's a lot out there, because there's an open source free software called Blender that a lot of VFX artists like to use, and that's it's free, so you get a lot of people that kind of go, I want to make a Spider-Man swinging sequence, so they do that and they do it in Blender. And there was one guy specifically that I watched and I quite liked, and I reached out to him on Instagram, and he reached out back, and it turns out he was an animation student in America somewhere. And me and him kind of spoke to each other and talked about the project, and as a Spider-Man fan himself, it was quite useful because he's a big fan of the character. So we kind of collaborated on that, and he kind of did the full CG stuff, and then I worked on the compositing of the film.
Okay. So my next question is to you, Lewis. How do you get into playing Spider-Man? Do you do method acting or not? Or are you just into it straight away?
Did you talk to your uni flat in an American accent?
No comment. No, I did do a bit of method acting. I tried to. So this was the first time I'd done an American accent in a film. So just practice with my American accent. So I did try and test it on my uni flatmates, and they said it was rubbish. But yeah, I just kept practicing.
Constructive.
Yeah, Alfred gave me a bit of homework when he told me that he really wanted me to be Spider-Man in this fan film. He told me to go watch the animated show that the film's based on, play the game as well, which we both love the game as well. So yeah, it's just a lot of hard work and yeah, a bit of fun as well to be
stretching.
So are you happy with the end result with your accent?
Oh, my accent, yes, I'd say my accent is better than it was when I started, obviously.
Thanks very much. So again, on the soundtrack, I know it's quite special, the soundtrack to this, and quite important in it. And I know it was all original, and some of it was recorded with a live orchestra. How did that happen?
So, about, I'd say November of last year, the uni assigned everyone to kind of work on a documentary. And the documentary would end up having a composer from a different university write a kind of soundtrack to it, and what would then happen is the soundtrack that they've composed for the documentary would then be performed by the BBC Live Orchestra, and we were one of the ones that got picked for our documentary, and we did have our soundtrack done by the BBC Live Orchestra. But I reached out to the composer And I said to him, hey, just to let you know, I've got this kind of side project that I'm also working on, and I'm just wondering if you'd be able to do the score for that. And he said no. he was too busy. So he then gave me the account of a different guy, which I reached out to him as well. And he said no. But then he gave me another guy, and I reached out to him, and I think about 5 guys later, I ended up with the person who ended up doing the soundtrack, Stephen. I'm kind of very lucky to have gotten Stephen, because Stephen, the best part about Stephen is he was born and raised in New York, and he does music in the Royal College of London for the music school. And because of him being born and raised in New York, when it came to kind of checking technicalities of like American like mannerisms and stuff like the acting, I could also kind of go to him, and he could also be on that from a continuity point of view.
So how did you think about Lewis's accent?
He said it wasn't bad. he did say it wasn't bad. So I had like a video call with him a month after I asked him. We talked about everything and kind of what films previously inspired the kind of vibe that I wanted for the soundtrack. And then in the end, we kind of selected something, and then we didn't really do things the traditional way, in the sense of usually when you do films, you film all the scenes and then you send it all off for composing, and composing is one of the last things that gets done. But because of my unique style, we would shoot a scene, send it to him, and then shoot another scene, and then send it to him, and shoot another scene, and send it to him, because I was worried that we weren't going to get all the scenes shot.
Was he alright?
In time for the deadline. He was absolutely lovely with it. He very much kind of appreciated it, and appreciated that, kind of students doing a film that's a bit longer than the average, because everyone else was assigned to do a 12-minute film, but I was like, no, you can have a 35-minute Spider-Man film. So I made things a bit difficult on myself in that sense, but he was wonderful, and he got on with my difficult style of going around things, but in the end it worked out.
Brilliant, thank you. So have you got an element of the film that you're most proud of?
Do you want to go first?
What, the Spider-Man film?
No, the Dark Knight.
I'd say one of my favourite scenes to film was the alleyway scene, because there is a fight scene which Alfie had to step in for that, and I had to...
No spoilers.
No spoilers. Oh, it's called Rat Alley.
Yeah.
The crew ended up calling the alleyway Rat Alley, because it was a very dingy kind of alleyway, and as we were shooting, every now and then a little rat would just run across someone's foot. It was a bit terrifying.
A little bit, are you joking?
You were worried because there was a hole in your jeans. Tell everyone about that.
Yeah, I was mortified pretty much. But yeah, so we had to do a bit of choreography for that, and that was one of my favourite bits, I'd say.
What about you, Alfie?
Yeah, so I do agree. I think that was probably one of the most fun scenes to shoot, and terrifying. But in terms of kind of favourite part of the process, it was I'd say it was kind of bringing everyone together, because I had an animation student doing the CGI from America, and then I had this guy from obviously the Royal College of London doing the soundtrack, and then I had a lot of kind of university friends working on the project, and then actors locally to Nottingham, but then also Lichfield and the Hub and Lichfield Arts and being involved, and then there was also a lot of my friends from Lichfield, from like school and stuff, that came up and they got involved and were even extras in some certain scenes, maybe the alleyway scene. But yeah, it was kind of like bringing all these different people together to kind of work on one thing, and that was, I'd say, probably what I was most proud of.
You got a first for that, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I got a first.
Well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, this is to both of you, but Lewis first. What's coming up next for you, filmmaking-wise?
Filmmaking, so we're going into our next year of uni. We're currently working on main module films as well as side modules. So we've got that to work on. But I know Alfie's asked me to act in yet another film of his.
Kicking and screaming?
Yeah,
you could say that.
Well, luckily this one he doesn't have to do an American accent. But so I've got kind of 2 films set to release in in 2026 that I've announced on my Instagram. One of them being called Exodus, which is I'm collaborating with someone I collaborated on another film I made called Eclipsia with, and we're both working on this film. And it's a zombie film, and that's all I'll say. So yes, I'm not exactly making it easy for myself again.
2 films?
Yes, so
that's a lot of pressure.
Exodus is one of them, and then about a month after, we're releasing a prequel to Eclipsia, which is a film I made last year. And it's called Eclipsia Dominion, set about 20 years before the first one. And it focuses more on the kind of corrupted government side of things rather than the protagonists that were in the previous film.
So, next question to you is, what's the ambition? What's the dream?
Well, I'd actually say, funnily enough, I really like producing content for YouTube in terms of uploading the films to that space. I think the best part about it is you can kind of be your own boss and you can be freelance, and you know, as someone who's in charge of the channel, you can have kind of creative control over most things, versus you go into Hollywood and it's not every time that you manage to get that creative control over every single aspect, because there's a lot of kind of producers and studio interference that gets involved with that. But obviously, if I do get a job, you know, as a director in Hollywood, I'm not going to complain.
You wouldn't turn it down then?
But yeah, no, it'd be quite... The absolute dream would be having the YouTube take off, and that would be, I'd say, probably my kind of number one priority right now. So yeah, that's the ambition.
Okay, and what about you, Lewis?
I'd say just keep building up a portfolio of work, because, like I said, I've worked with Alfie on loads of projects, both in front and behind the camera. Just need to keep... Yeah, I'd love to work with him again, like I said, one of his other 2 projects. I'm sort of the opposite of him. I like to be sort of bossed around, which is, I think, is why we work so well together. Just keep working on my art, really.
Sure. Right, I've got a couple of questions from the audience. So, got Claire Pinder-Smith, Lichfield's current mayor, somewhere in the audience. I think we'll get a mic to you before we ask the question.
I suppose this question would be for both of you. Just a second. If you could give your younger self, I know you're both still extremely young, but if you could give your younger selves just embarking on college, what advice would you give that younger version?
Get your head down. Probably the main one. Listen to the people that are giving you advice, because, you know, they have your best interests, and kind of don't think you know everything so early on. That's probably the best thing I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say as well, just keep working on what you're doing, keep meeting new people, because like a few years ago I would not have gone to uni. I was absolutely terrified. So if I hadn't gone to uni, I would not have met Alfie, would not have made this film. So just keep trying new things, really. Yeah, you never know what can happen.
So we've got another question. We've got Thomas Perkins in the audience. He's actually a filmmaker. We showed his film on Friday at Litchfield's takeover of the Guildhall. So far away, Thomas.
So this is a question for Alfie. So you were working with this guy in London on the soundtrack. What degree of creative input did you have to that composition? Were you kind of suggesting changes that you wanted here and there, and how do you feel that affected kind of the final product?
Well, personally, I'd say one of my favourite kind of parts about films in general are the soundtracks, because obviously, Hans Zimmer's out there, and Hans Zimmer's absolutely doing bits, and I will just drive in my car sometimes and just put on Hans Zimmer to listen to. So I'd say, in terms of kind of knowing about scores, I think I have quite a lot of kind of knowledge there, and kind of knowing, and I'm a drummer myself personally as well, so I do understand music, so I think the ability to kind of communicate with my composer was quite good, because I knew a lot of musical terminology. But I think, if that answers your question.
That does, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Now I'm going to ask you a really tricky one. To you both, what would your superpower be if you could have one?
Wow. I know the easy answer is Spider-Man, but I'm not going to say that. I'd probably...
Why did you think I cast it?
If you talk to my younger self, you'd probably say Spider-Man, but right now I'd probably say either like fire or ice powers, I'd say would be pretty cool. Kind of like Human Torch and Iceman.
Is that so you could, someone you don't like, you can just obliterate them kind of thing?
I think that's illegal, it's called arson, isn't it? quite useful, you know, if I bring a beer around and keep it cold for me.
It's a great idea.
I'd probably say teleportation personally.
Sorry, what was that?
Teleportation. Save a lot of money on petrol.
Sure would. And sitting in traffic jams.
Yeah, and you know, if there's a few times kind of when we were filming Spider-Man and set there, I'd kind of get there and be like, forgot my SD card or forgot my camera batteries, and you know how useful it would have been instead of sprinting all the way home like I was, just to teleport back to the flat, grab it, teleport back.
Going on holiday would be a dream as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
That's mine. I'd take the same superpowers if we just go on holiday quickly. Okay, right. Thank you very much, both. Thanks for your time. And please, a round of applause for both of you.
Thank you very much.
So, we're going to take a short break now. Please do go and get yourself a drink from the bar and go to the bathroom if you need to, and we'll be back in about 10 or 15 minutes, or when the bar queues.
And Lewis doesn't actually have ice powers, so don't ask him to, freeze up your beer.
Okay, so we'll see you in a few. Well, we're just going to go straight into the film show in a few minutes. Thank you very much.